as to whom should these workers be given to. Actually, this is a human trait that has been happening in our nation at this point of time. How did our courts responded to this crisis? The court raised a very interesting question as to the court raised this question as to why should migrant workers be given wages when government is giving them free food, water, and arranging trains so that they can travel back to their homes. This is an interesting question which was raised by the Honorable Apex Court of the nation. And it is not surprising in a capitalist system, in a neoliberal capitalist economy where the role of the government is largely limited, and when the privileged section feels that the underprivileged working class, like that of the migrant laborers, are solely responsible to lift the cross of unprecedented times like that of pandemic. So the response of these justice delivery agencies are not surprising. However, in a welfare state, in a welfare constitutional democracy, where the courts, the justice delivery system, the lawmakers are supposed to protect the fundamental human rights which are guaranteed to the workman under the Constitution. And when they are compromising these fundamental rights in the name of development, it is not development, but mere pseudo development. The developmental model which should be put forward by a state, by a welfare state, welfare constitutional democracy, should take into consideration the interests of the weak. So while taking a decision to impose lockdown, the government was supposed to take care of the interests, worries, and the difficulties of the underprivileged, like those of the migrant workers. And the interesting fact is that while the number of cases, COVID-19 cases in India was below 600, the government did not do anything to bring back migrant workers to their homeland. While they arranged the aeroplanes of Air Force and ships, naval ships of the Indian Navy to bring back stranded Indians in foreign land. They did nothing for the migrant workers to go back to their home. And they were supposed to take resort to cement carts. Yes? Did someone say something?
No, please go ahead. Some noise was there, I think.
So they were supposed to take resort to cement carts. They were supposed to take bicycles. They were supposed to walk back to their home. So this is something which we as an academic community, where we are deliberating on the crisis within homes, we are supposed to do something more for them as responsible citizens. Which includes the authors who wrote this paper, we are doing nothing for them. And we are also the privileged section who are taking undue advantage on the working section, on the underprivileged working sections like that of the migrant workers. Many of the states even said that even if the migrant workers are suffering from COVID-19, they can be allowed to work, because if they stop working, the development of the state will come to an halt. So I would like to end my presentation by stating that a capitalist-induced neoliberal development with no human face is pseudo-developmental, which inflicts severe blows on the face of humanity and human rights. And we should not be proud of it. We should not be proud of such a market where the government and justice delivery system are mostly influenced by the interests and by the interests and by the wants of those who own the resources. and not by the interest of the underprivileged and the subaltern sections of the society. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Arjun, and very insightful because I could see some of the quotation you brought from Ajim Premji and others who are themselves capitalist, you know, talking very human kind of thing. So it's very interesting. So what Arjun mentioned that the response across society is not that good in the overall, neoliberal capitalist society, whether it is welfare state or anything, they have diluted the law and the response is very bad, which is not expected from welfare society. So thank you, Arjun. We'll go to next presentation. But before that, I just want to mention that all of you should, write in the chat box because you may forget what to ask to Arjun and his co-presenters. So better to write in the chat box now itself, and so that we can collect at the end and we'll have a question answer session. The next paper presenter is we have Hardeep Kaur. She is the assistant professor in the Department of Law, Guru Nanak Dev University. Her topic is migrant workers and COVID-19 pandemic, on untangling the impact of new labor codes on migrant workers in India. So over to you, Hardeep, Dr. Hardeep. Unmute, please unmute. Please unmute. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Please take
Yeah.
7 minutes.
Good evening, sir. I'm audible now. Right, sir. Right, sir. So, thanks to the organizers for giving me the opportunity. So, as far as the pandemic is concerned, sir, I'm audible to you.
Yes, yes, you are
So,
audible.
my topic is migrant workers and COVID-19 pandemic untangling them. So I would definitely agree with what Arjun sir has already said, that because the government has come into reforming the labor laws which were prevailing in the country. So the labor law being a subject falling in the concurrent list for the center, we had a huge plethora of labor laws which were prevailing in the country, and with the purpose of reforming or bringing reforms in the labor laws, the government initiated 4 labor codes in the country. So the Code on Wages Act is already an Act 2019 bill we have, and the other 3 bills, they have been notified by the central government. And out of this, because our topic today here is we're talking about the migrant workers. So because of a constitutional scheme, and if I talk about the edifice of our Constitution of India, it is based on the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. And I failed to mention it. I could not resist to mention the name of Dr. Ambedkar, who has been a pioneer for protecting the interest of the labor class in the country. So the contribution for having the labor laws is ultimately goes to the Dr. Ambedkar, his vision for the labor class, and the concept of socialism on which our constitution is resting. So keeping this thing in mind, as far as the migrant workers are concerned, the migrant workers, they form a class in themselves. We classify them as an unorganized sector because we cannot see them. They don't form, or they are not a part of any industry. They are not the part of any organization. So the plight of the migrant workers, which we have seen during the pandemic, I think has moved the national sympathy for them. The civil society, not on the part of the government, but the civil society, and as the citizens of this country, we have seen their plight and how our society is still exploiting the people. They are not even given their basic human rights. We are talking about the concept of human dignity in the Constitution of India, but we have failed to protect the dignity of these human beings, that we have failed to realize them. They are the human beings on this earth also. So the plight that we have witnessed during the COVID-19, that the people are walking barefoot to their native place, the states are failing to recognize them, but still I see a ray of hope in the courts which the government has initiated in the shape of 4 courts, which we are trying to bring in the reforms in the labor laws of the country. So the 2 courts on which I would be talking is Code on Social Security 2020, which is actually talking about the migrant workers, and the other code is Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020. So for as the Code on Social Security 2020 is concerned, it has tried to consolidate 9 laws which were already prevailing in India. And out of this one laws, the Unorganized Worker Social Security Act 2008, that is also covered under this code only. So this was the one code. So talking about 1950 Constitution, talking about 2008, we have taken so much time to recognize that the unorganized sector, they also need the welfare measures, because being a welfare state, we need to provide the social security measures to these people. And in 2020, we are hoping that when we have consolidated this sect under the broad heading, we are trying to universalize the concept of social security in India, that we are trying to cover number of workers under the social security code. So as far as the social security code is concerned, the main purpose is that here the central government, it has been empowered that it is going to set up the funds for the unorganized workers, the gig workers, and the platform workers. So when we're talking about the gig workers, we have tried to bring in a lots of workers who were earlier not recognized as a worker, right? Prior to 2020, we only had the law which was dealing with the migrant workers. That was Interstate Migrant Workers Act 1979. So as far as 1979 Act is concerned, that was again applicable to the migrant workers to a factory in which they were the number of workers was 5. So even that, because in that case the requirement was that the employer was required to register the his employment, his factory, his the place of work. And because most of the employers, the principal employer, the contractor, they did not take the license, they did not register their establishment. So that's why we could not recognize, we could not actually get together the data of the migrant workers. So 1979 Act has been clubbed under this Code on Security Act 2020, and here the central government is empowered that it can set up the funds for unorganized workers, for the gig workers, and for the platform workers. Apart from this, the code also mandates that the central government will frame a scheme for the welfare schemes for the classes of the employers in relation to that. They are talking about providing life and disability cover to the unorganized workers, to the where we are covering the interstate migrant workers also, health and maternity benefits to the migrant workers, old age protection, education, and any other benefit with the central government feels like that has also to be given to the migrant workers. Apart from this, the state governments are also mandated under this act that they are going to frame scheme for the employees in relation to the provident funds for the migrant workers, employment, injury benefit, housing, educational schemes for the children, then skill upgradation of the workers, then funeral assistance and old age home. So these are the certain welfare measures which we are trying to provide in the name of social security. At least we have started recognizing that interstate or the migrant worker, they form a class and they play a very main role in the development of the country. So they form a backbone of the country, and we have just ignored this class of the people. Then any unorganized worker, any gig worker, the requirement of this social security code is that they have to register themselves under the code, provided that they have completed the 16 years of age and the Aadhaar card registration is mandatory. So this is the gist of when we're talking about that, what we are actually thinking of what plight the migrant workers have gone through the pandemic, and in this is for the future to see that how this social security code is going to benefit the migrant workers. So these are very promising provisions which have been incorporated in the act itself only. So we have to see, we have to wait for the future for the implementation of that, that how the interstate migrant workers, they are going to be benefited from this code. So my next code is Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020. So in this case also, the government has recognized and we have consolidated the Interstate Migrant Workers Act under this code only. And in this case, the interstate migrant workers and organized workers, they have been received by an employer or contractor for working in other states. So here we are talking about the employers who are taking.
Dr. Hardeep, you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay, sir. So in this case, the migrant workers, they have been defined as who move on to another state and obtain employment on their own, that nobody is fetching them, nobody is bringing them. And only under this Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, only those persons who's earning maximum 18,000 per month or such a high amount, they will be notified as migrant workers and they will be given the benefits of this act. Then benefits of interstate migrant workers, they have the option that they can avail the benefits of the public distribution system either in their native state or in the place where they have having their employment. Then availability of benefits which is available under the Building and Other Construction Cess Fund, the state of employment, these are also provided to the migrant workers. Then insurance and provident fund benefits, they are also provided to the workers in the same establishment only. And the one more prominent thing is that there is a database for interstate migrant workers that central state government, they're going to keep a record of the details of the interstate migrant workers in the portal. And all the interstate migrant workers, they are required to register themselves on the basis of self-declaration and the Aadhaar card. Then there is a provision of social security fund for the welfare of organized workers, and this fund can be from if there is any violation of that, whatever amount we are collecting. So in a way, if we see these two codes and the plight which we have seen of the migrant workers during the pandemic, I think if this provision they are implemented, there is no dearth of laws in India. The only point is that the workers are not aware about their rights. On in case, especially about the migrant workers, because migrant workers, why they are migrating? They are migrating for the green pastures and the reasons of unemployment, illiteracy, poverty. These are the reasons why these people are compelled to leave their native states. So first of all, I think for migrant workers, we need to treat them as human beings, that they are also part and parcel, and they are also citizens like the other common people in the country, so that we can fulfill the constitutional goal also, which our constitution makers they have seen, the goal of socialism. So being a socialist state, and we have to bridge the gap between the haves and the haves now. So on this hopeful note, I'm hoping that these two codes might prove very beneficial for the migrant workers. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Hardeep. And in fact, you have given a what we perceive from the law or this code, but actually in reality that doesn't happen many times. So anyway, we'll have more discussion on your paper. So we'll over to another paper now. Athira Raju, who is assistant professor at Central University of Kerala. The pitfall of laws related to migrant laborers, workers. Over to you, Athira. Athira, are you there? Yes. Please start your presentation. 7 minutes I'll allot, total 8 minutes for you. Athira, are you presenting PPT or directly speaking? Hello?
Hello, sir. She has told me that she has a PPT and she will be presenting that.
Okay. So anybody is helping?
Sir, I'm trying to contact her right now.
Okay. Otherwise, if there is a trouble, we'll go to. Okay.
I think some mic problem maybe.
Okay, so what we'll do, we'll go to the next presentation, and Athira, meanwhile, she will manage to rectify.
Madhuri will contact her. Right?
Yes. So we'll go to next presenters, Sanyukta Moitra and Shukla Saha. Please, present your paper in 7 minutes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes,
Good afternoon, all the dignitaries. So I'm Shukla Shaha, and I'm going to present my paper on behalf of my co-author, Dr. Sanyukta Moitra, and our topic is on migration policies and governance in India amidst COVID-19 pandemic challenges and possibilities. The magnitude of dependence on the migrant workforce in the development of urban areas surfaced recently for the first time when the COVID-19 pandemic hit our nation. The containment measures adopted by the states imposed restrictions on the movement of the migrant workers and rendered them jobless and penniless. Abandoned by their employers, these marginalized communities were forced to hit the streets in desperation to secure a safe return to their homes. It is indeed ironical that these city makers who made valuable contributions to the architecture of the city were excluded from almost every facility that every citizen of this nation was entitled during this crisis. The migrants have always remained invisible in the eyes of the urban local bodies. They are often ignored by the politicians as they are not registered to vote or participate in urban elections. They are considered as unwanted and often demonized by their employers. In the absence of any documents relating to their identity, they are often excluded from the social security programs offered by the cities they build. Held responsible for the rising of criminal activities and the burden on the infrastructure and economy of the cities, they are often subjected to discrimination and inequalities. This political, social, and labor market exclusion deprives them of their basic fundamental rights, denying them as well as the human rights denying them right to seek justice. Already living in distress, the outbreak of the pandemic has aggravated reverse migration that has taken place in huge numbers, impacting the lives of these migrants and their families. According to 2011 census report, over 41 million Indians migrated from rural to urban areas for work. The reverse migration from developed states to the poorer states is expected to increase the economic burden of the host states. Taking into consideration these factors, the government has recently passed three labor code bills to boost labor reforms, securing the rights that the migrant workers. However, the present paper of this delves deep into the various issues that has influenced the migration and shed light on the enactment and its implications. There is a concept of smart cities which has been raised uh, from the year of 2015. The migrant laborers who build our smart cities, profiting their labor to fuel the development of industries and cities in urban areas, in region of meager wages, lack of social securities, are tucked away in some avoided corner of the city. Thousands of migrant construction workers who toil hard, upon whose manual labor sacrifices lost bloods and sweats. The construction industry and development of cities rely, at the end of the day, depart to their makeshift camps and upon accomplishment of the project again depart to another place. The focus of the migrant construction workers are mainly daily wages and sending it to home as other migrant workers. The terms such as sustainable smart city, mixed land use, walkable places denote a little to thousands of migrant workers who hardly get any opportunity to use it. The women workers who involve 30 to 40% of the workforce are generally employed for light work on site, considered as or domestic help, and considered as amateur helpers to men, and is sustainably paid less wages. The Prime Minister of India launched the grandiose 100 Smart Cities mission in 2015 with a proclamation to developing the lifestyle of the people. There are various reasons for increase in international and internal migration, such as poverty, lack of decent work for women, increase in the demand of female labor in destination countries, remittances of country of origin, safety and stability, freedom, higher wages and job prospects, food availability, better environment, family reunification, better quality of life, and additionally availability of services. And for this, there are various problems being faced by the migrant workers, such as their casual nature of work, unorganized sectors, illiteracy, ignorance, low wages, no social security, no fixed working hours, unwholesome working conditions, vulnerability of getting affected, occupational diseases, serious accidental injuries, insufficient implementation of labor laws, insufficient labor welfare activities, no payment of holidays, even the problems of various women migrant workers face problems of sexual harassment, discrimination, inequality. Moreover, the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic has added to their woes, which has resulted them to the deprivation of right to livelihood, reduced remittances, limited freedom of movement, lack of social protection, poor healthcare facilities, denial of basic rights and freedom, increased state of insecurity, precarity, and vulnerability. There is a concept of gig economy. Gig, the term to coined several decades ago, appears to have achieved eminence in present time. In the contemporary gig economy includes a temporary contractual employment or short-term contract or freelance employment that a person may undertake. What is the impact of this gig economy? Lack of stability in a job, undetermined pay schedules, unsteady workload, absences of social benefits or any statutory protection, like a worker in permanent employment. The labor welfare laws in India have been enacted to ensure that certain employees, including contract workers, are entitled to all benefits, but the gig workers are ineligible to receive any benefits as the other workers. But the constant growth of the gig economy, it is probable that some interest may be enhanced to them, even if at not analogous with the regular obligation of an organization. There are three labor codes which has already been discussed by the earlier presenter, but I would like to still focus on the three codes such as the Industrial Relations Code, Code Bill 2020, Code on Social Security, and the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code Bill 2020. As the government seeks to amalgamate 44 central labor acts into 4 codes towards simplify, with an object of simplifying labor laws and improve ease of doing business, and moreover also towards making attention the problem that has been faced by the migrant workers. The Industrial Code Bill 2020 was sought to amend the definition of strike to bring mass casual leave under its ambit. Under this code, if over 50% of a company's workers take concerted casual leave, it will be treated as a strike. More importantly, though, through the code also seeks to restrict the rights of the workers of a strike. At least they should be given they should give a 60-day notice. The IR code also allows companies with up to 300 workers to fire workers without having to gain government approval. It also raises the threshold for the requirement of a standing order to 300 workers. Uh, the Social Security Bill 2020 proposes the creation of a National Social Security Board, which takes on the responsibility of formulating suitable schemes for unorganized workers, gig workers, and platform workers. It also brings these sections of workers under the ambit of Social
I have
Security.
2 minutes.
Okay, sir. That include life and disability insurance, provident fund, health and maternity benefits, and skill upgradation. Occupational Safety and Social Security Bill, it also seeks to subsume the Interstate Migrant Workmen Regulation of Employment and Conditions of Service Act 1917 along with 13 other acts. There are role of urban local bodies which play a leading role in empowering migrant workers. Like according to the 74th Amendment of the Indian Constitution, ULPs are accountable for planning and advancement of urban places, but the truth is far different. They are not recognized in many urban programs and services for which urban planning appears to be failure in India. However, it is fundamental that ULP set in motion urban migrant-friendly strategies so that proper aid can be rendered. The importance of 73rd and 74th Amendment with special focus on the missions like Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission and the Rajiv Awas Yojana, these are special mentions. States are expected to bestow pertinent powers, authority, and finances upon these bodies to formulate policies and execute schemes for economic and benefit. Article 40 of the Indian Constitution is also um, um, also a major importance in this criteria. In the moreover, the deprivation of any economic and social security uh, has been held by the Ajay McCain versus others versus Union of India, that it is a right of every migrant workers to be a part of the right to the city, as it was laid down in the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. It has also been held under Olga Tellis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation that right to life under Article 21 also incorporates
Yeah,
right
you
to
can
life.
conclude now.
Yes, sir. Just with the suggestion, I'm ending it. And moreover, I would like to end with some suggestions that the way forward towards this that uh, an economic smart friendly villages should be adopted so that the migrant workers who are forced to leave their villages are not are not and their lives are not at stake, and their livelihood, their economic security and social benefits are not hampered with a desire to leave the villages and to step in the urban cities with the so that they can improve and ameliorate the livelihood. Smart city programs ignores issues, and that should be laid more focus. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shukla. And the concept you used, gig economy, is very important actually. That is what we are experiencing now. Suddenly you find, corporates are closing down, and suddenly you find everybody is jobless in that particular, industry. These are actually cannot be, we cannot think from one side. I think we should also create equally more choices. Otherwise, we cannot provide social security in the absence of creating more employment. Because if corporates are collapsing, just imagine in COVID-19, so many tourism sectors, so many, because we stopped people going from here to there, those industries are closed. So who will provide social security? So all these are very complex and related. Actually, simultaneously, we have to create more job so that we'll have more choices, and this kind of social security we can expand actually. Thank you for giving this insight. Now we'll go to next presenter, Shruti Sanghi and Aniruddha Thagat. Both are research scholar in the monk.
Excuse me, sir.
Huh.
Sir, she is asked to present last.
Okay, okay. So we'll go to then Rohit Rai and Dr. Ruchi Singh. Both are from Wellingकर Institute of Management, Development and Research in Bangalore. And their paper is, I couldn't note. So over to you, Rohit Rai and Ruchi Singh.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
We can hear. Be
Yes,
loud
sir.
a little bit.
Uh, Hello, sir.
Yes, yes. Now it is okay.
Yes, sir. I'm sharing my PPT, sir. One second. Share with computer sound. Sir, is it visible, sir?
It's visible, visible. We go ahead.
So first things first, I would like to thank the organizers for this wonderful opportunity they have given to me to present my paper, sir. And coming to my topic, sir, my topic is skilled workers in COVID-19 impacts and measures. So giving a small brevity and setting up the context for my presentation, as we all know, the first few cases were discovered in the southern regions of India, and from there it started to enter into the metropolitan cities. So to curb this spread of the disease, nationwide lockdown was imposed, and all the supply chains, construction sites, transportation, travel, and all the economic activities came to a standstill. This brought a turmoil to millions who were primarily involved in the unorganized sector. This doesn't mean that the skilled workers like engineers, the quality managers had an easy ride in pandemic. Even they were hit. With this, I started reading many literature, paper, blogs, and some online research I did. And my justification for this study would be we have been discussed that the impact of pandemic on the unorganized sector is very harsh, but not very much light is shed on the skilled workers for the same. Skilled workers often get ignored and their sufferings rarely get due attention. And with this background, the aim of the study is to understand the financial and the social psychological impact on high skilled workers. So, with this, my objective translates to understand and to analyze the financial and the social impacts of COVID-19 on professional skilled workers as well as migrants and other business organizations. Now, when you have a financial problem in your house, it's evident that there will be an change in your expenditure pattern. So, hence, my second objective becomes analysis of impact of COVID-19 on expenditure pattern. Uh, After this, after setting my objectives, I made a comprehensive questionnaire and I circulated them with my family, friends, and professionals of different sectors. And I also spoke with business owners of groceries and other sectors. And I and then I went to the internet to find out what is actually happening with the skilled workers. So it's not that all the sectors have been hit. They are divided into two parts: the adversely affected and the beneficial part. The adversely affected consists of apparel, textile, auto sector, aviation, supply chain of non-food items, building and construction. Here, all the laborers were laid off, no doubt, but then site engineers, the quality managers, even they had to bear some losses. Even they were affected. Then moving on to the beneficial part, internet economy, everyone moved to the digital age. Then there was people started to binge buy, people panicked, they started to store more food. Specialty chemicals like sanitizers were mandatory, people started to buy, the pharma industry saw a boom. Then internet also gave me an insight that migrants were subjected to discrimination because of their tendencies. So societies weren't welcoming outsiders, strangers, and foreigners. This had a sociological impact on the migrants as well. Sharing few of my data which I collected from my questionnaire, that is impact on households. 25.8% saw a reduction in pay. Challenges faced by the business owners are 41.9% of respondents had to face difficulties because customers were locked down and there were mobility restriction imposed by the government. So can you hear me, right, sir? Hello.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah, please.
So there is so the next is change in consumer behavior. 87.1% of the respondents were affected by the pandemic, and there was this change in that consumer behavior that people started to buy stock more of food materials. They were scared that the shop would close and the stock would go out. Social impacts was they weren't able to be with their native people. They were isolated. This is all my data which I've collected. Observations would be irregular patterns of working hours and operations of business led to losses. Lockdown and travel restrictions have affected the household income and many workers as well. Many businesses had to face difficulties because of this lockdown, and workers in many organizations were laid off. This is not only the laborers but also the assistant professors. Many tuition teachers lost their jobs. Many businesses were shut down. Slowly and steadily, when the lockdown extended, the businesses changed their model. They went to you call online businesses. Financial instability led to uneven expenditure pattern. Then people couldn't be with their loved one, which impacted socially to them. So through this paper, it's evident that there was less of supply and demand, and businesses were failing. Uh, People were laid off, and they were unable to send money to their native place. There was whole isolation and discrimination. They were away from home, stranded away from home. So few policy suggestions which I would suggest is, at the start, the government should have provided the migrants with a little transport facilities who cannot sustain their livelihood. And businesses shouldn't permanently lay off workers. This is a very vicious cycle. When businesses are failing, they often lay off people, and the workers face a financial problem. And due to this pandemic, they panicked and they started to buy more of the food materials, and there was financial instability in their house. So this is a very vicious cycle. So I believe that businesses shouldn't permanently lay off. They could have cut down their salaries by 1% or something. proper sanitization and health checkups and insurance policies should be made, and people should choose a healthy lifestyle should be followed in this pandemic. That's it, sir. Thank you. Hello, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now, actually, the skilled migration is very important component of entire migratory, movement.
Yes,
And
sir.
and this is what even the COVID-19 couldn't spare the skilled migrant also. So that is the important aspect to cover. So we'll go to the next presentation. At the end, we'll have question answer as I mentioned. So the next one is by Nirun RN and Ashwin K. Sunil. Both are research scholar at the Central University of Kerala. And one is advocate, another is a research scholar. So we have a good combination. So their paper is judicial approach to management, judicial approach to migrant laborers. So over to you, Mr. Nirul.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir? I have a
Yes, sir.
PPT also. Can you please, organizers, can you please share the PPT?
Yes, yes. Rakesh?
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nirun Aran. I'm a scholar at Central University of Kerala, and myself, along with Ashwini K. Sunil, we are presenting this paper titled Judicial Approach to Migrant Laborers Issues During COVID-19, Whether Courts Deviated from Proactivism. As an introduction, I would like to start with judicial activism in India, because I think most of the audience here are not from legal background or from a legal discipline. So I just want to give a brief introduction to the judicial activism in India. It mainly developed after the post emergency period. That is, after 1975, judicial activism was explicit in India, and whenever fundamental rights of the people of India peoples are affected, either the Supreme Court or the High Courts, both are the constitutional courts, they have interfered with the matter and tried to solve the issues. And they are regularly reviewing the legislative as well as the executive activities, as on the part of the government activities also. They are reviewing these kind of activities so as to ensure that the fundamental rights of the people are protected and they are guaranteed. And for this purpose of as a part of this judicial activism, the court has liberalized the concept of local standing. That is, in the earlier stage, what is that? Only the aggrieved person can approach the court and seek remedy. But by the judicial activism, as a result of judicial activism, any public spirited individual or a socially activist association or individual, whoever it is, they can approach the constitutional courts, that is Supreme Court and High Courts, for the enforcement of or the realization of the fundamental rights. And as part of the judicial activism, so many important changes has been arised in India. Though there are criticism, this public investigation as well as judicial activism has resulted in the protection of human rights of many persons, because including right of the prisoners, vulnerable sections, laborers, women, children, and in all these aspects, the role of judicial activism is highly important, and also in environmental jurisprudence and against corruption. In all these aspects, judicial activism is crucial. And even a letter is considered by the courts as a part of a public interest litigation. Next, please. Next. As part of this developed concept of judicial activism, the court has expanded the scope of right to life under Article 21 of the Constitution. It now includes the right to live with a human dignity and the right to get livelihood. And it's the right to life doesn't mean an animal existence. It is something more than that. These are all the interpretations given by the judiciary to the right to life under Article 21 as part of this judicial activism. In this big background, we are going to the migrants issues. Next slide, please. Next. As all of sorry, yes, correct. As all of you know, the plight of the migrants during COVID-19 and national lockdown, they were unemployed persons. They do not have any livelihood. Food and shelter problems are there, and they are forced to travel back to their native states, but there is no transportation facilities, neither train nor buses. And we have witnessed that the migrants are the queues of migrants in the national highways or not, and also in the state borders. And we have witnessed all these things. Next. And in this background, we are expected judiciary to do something for the beneficial of these persons, because the judiciary has already created a standard, a judicial standard of proactivism to helping the downtrodden section or poor or downtrodden section. In this case, we have witnessed that there is deprivation of fundamental rights of the migrants, and the migrants are migrants lacks ways to they lack transportation facilities to go back to their native places. So they are walking through the highways or through the railway lines, and they were dying, and executive has failed. The executive actually has no idea to how to deal with the problem in the initial time, and there is no coordinated action between the center and states, and there is also a legal lacuna in this regard also. So in this condition, we have expected something from the Supreme Court to especially from the Supreme Court to act upon in favor of the migrants, so as to ensure and guarantee their fundamental rights. Next, please. Next. And so many public interest litigations have been filed even from the initial stage of the national lockdown. You know, national lockdown has announced in March 24th, and in 27 itself on public interest litigation was filed, and it called for requested before the Supreme Court that to interfere. There needs an urgent intervention of the Supreme Court for ensuring that essential supplies are available to the migrants, and also direct the local administration and police authorities to identify the affected migrants of national lockdown and to shift them to shelter homes and camps. This is a wonderful opportunity of the Supreme Court so as to act upon the issues of the plight of the migrants. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court relied on the status report submitted by the central government. It is the status report. It is conducted by the central government that the relief camps are already started and shelter homes are already started. Basic amenities we are providing through these shelter homes, and on the date of that submission, that is on the date March 31st, no migrant was walking on the roads. This was a submission made by the central government, and unfortunately the Supreme Court relied and much emphasis upon this report by the central government and did not make any constructive approach in the matter, and directed the states and union territories to follow the directions from central government, and also directed against the spreading of fake news. This is what happened in the first petition. And in the next please. And in the next petition, the direction it was prayed that direction to the government for payment of migrants in the unorganized sector was prayed. Unfortunately, again Supreme Court refused to pass any direction because they considered it is a policy matter, and government has to decide on the policy matter. And another letter cum writ petition from another one of the Lok Sabha MPs was filed, and the same fate has waited for it. It was also dismissed. And later in April 18, another public interest litigation was filed, which called for the enforcement of stranded migrants' fundamental right to life, and it also seeks the Supreme Court assistance for a direction for the safe travel back to the migrants. And during the pendency of that petition on April 29, that the Union government has issued the guideline next level of lockdown guidelines and permitted the interstate movement. Therefore, the Supreme Court take a stand that what is contended in the petition is now satisfied. Hence, the petition was disposed of. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court failed to consider the
You
fact
have
that
1 minute.
there was no action.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, sir. Okay. They failed to consider that actually there was no action plan on the part of the government, and this approach of the Supreme Court was a setback from the well-known activism of the judiciary, because it is criticized by many former judges, senior lawyers, activities, and the Supreme Court gave much emphasis on the executive's explanation and failed to identify the violations of the fundamental rights. Next, please. And on the other hand, some positive actions were taken by various high courts, most importantly the Karnataka High Court, which regularly monitored the state actions and give directions, asked for their policy and railway fare, etc. And also the Gujarat High Court, which suo moto taken cognizance of the matter and interfere with the matters of the migrants and give directions. And also the Madras High Court also taken such a positive stand, and also such other courts like Orissa, Kerala, Andhra, and Telangana High Courts were all taken such a progressive approach towards the migrants, where the Supreme Court has
I think some network problem with Nirun, but I think he has almost covered most part.
That their effective and concentrated efforts are required, and thereafter the court has issued detailed some directions first one in May 28 and next in June 9, give directions which is more progressive and more constructive, that no fare has to be charged, and standard they have to be given all the necessary activities. And in June 9 it was held that within 15 days all the migrants who are wishing to go back to their native state has to be shifted, and all the central and state government has to frame schemes and inform the migrants. And also notably, the Supreme Court has asked the state and union territories to consider the withdrawal of prosecution and complaints charged against the migrants for the violations of lockdown. Such progressive approach were subsequently taken by the Supreme Court only after a few months, or only after 2 months. But even then, the Supreme Court then taken a positive approach, and they are started to regularly supervise the executive, the center, state, union territories, and also to ask for their opinion, and in a coordinated way. The Supreme Court has then a positive approach. So what I have to say is that the Supreme Court what I have to conclude is that Supreme Court at the first instance has failed to rise up to the occasion, and whereas the various high courts have taken a progressive approach. Subsequently, Supreme Court has interfered in the matter and give some positive directions. I would like to conclude by quoting one observation by the Gujarat High Court in one of the migrant cases. Since all of you are know about when the ship Titanic was in, 3 ships was in the nearby areas, and one RMS Carpathia, which has came first and rescued 705 passengers of the Titanic. The Gujarat High Court has observed like this: the crashing of the Titanic was inevitable, but was evitable was the loss of the human lives. It is believed that if the other 2 ships had responded in time, all people on board the Titanic could have been saved. We face a similar tragedy today in the form of a global pandemic caused by a contagious virus we barely have any power over. What we do have power over is ourselves. We all should become the Carpathia. The same thing I have to submit is that we all expected all the state machinery to become Carpathia rather than the 2 ships, and we especially expected from the judiciary to act like Carpathia. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirun, and it's very insightful paper and very interesting also. And I think judicial activism is also having its own criticism also. Last 10 years you can find lots of judicial activism happened, but if you see the kind of issue they take, it really touches the marginal section. So that is another side. And this pandemic time also, it was very very late response, and many of them they didn't know how to handle. So these are the some of the issue. Will come back to you during question answer time. And now I'll go to Arun Alvi, who is assistant professor in Rajasthan Technical University. Her paper is Arun is I think. Her paper title is COVID-19 Migrant Narratives for Policy Making. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to start with this. I hope it's visible. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, yes.
Could you please guide me on how to start it in screen share mode?
Screen share. Are you doing yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you can go to the screen share is right side. You see
It is
below.
already shared, I
bottom.
think. It's just present now.
Okay, sir.
Otherwise, just to scroll down, it will come.
Okay, sir.
Yes,
Okay, sir.
yes.
So,
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
okay.
First of all, I would like to thank the Center of Indian Diaspora Studies, Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala, Flame University, Pune, and Global Research Forum on Diaspora and Transnationalism, New Delhi, for giving me this opportunity to present my ideas. My name is Dr. Iramalvi. I'm an assistant professor in the English department, Rajasthan Technical University, Kota. First of all, I would like to start with a brief introduction of narratives. Narratives are spoken or composed record of genuine life experiences, told from the perspective of someone who has undergone them. They play out a significant function in illuminating the public about the turns of events and life changes. Narratives, similar to story, examples, or tributes, testimonials, have validity and can be effortlessly retained. They are a rich wellspring of data and present a novel and new territory of investigation. There is a developing need to focus on narrative and stories as they are significant mode of understanding. Now let us see what a narrative is. A narrative is a sense-producing instrument that connects with people and masses at various times and places in the action of narration. Rises above the divide amid the individual and the social. A narrative provides rich material for scrutinizing the policies under language and content. A narrative is a method of sharing and sorting out encounters in the ongoing or distant past and of relating significant, passionate, or horrible life experiences and the particulars of regular daily life. Fundamental in passing on values and normal practices. Now, narratives are fundamental to the development of individual as well as aggregate identities and are utilized to index methods of being and social identity. It is different from a story. A story is a reiteration of past occasions with a structure including difficulties and goals, delineated by a storyteller to come to a meaningful conclusion. Stories have beginning, middle, and end, and are normally spin around some critical occurrences. The storytellers might be looking for answers and counsels instead of making a positive point. Now, a narrative is different, so we have different types of narratives. Some are about the past and some are conventional narrations. Now, narrative has a multidisciplinary role to play. The field of narrative study is very extensive and it is a focal point of consideration for many fields, such as literary scholars from anthropology, for social researchers, for social analysts, and for communication researchers. So it has a very vital role to play in very diverse fields. Now we come to the narrative for migration studies. The area and approach of migration studies are additionally diverse. The story, investigation of relocation and migration share this diverse as well as unified character. The narrative study moves away from the quantitative or standard towards some subjective and expository ways to deal with social phenomena, with the account or the narrative becoming more important than the method of comprehension. This feature shows the narration's capability of giving a voice to minorities and other underrepresented or socially separated communities to create their own renditions of their own encounters. So a research gap was identified and it was found that the migrant narratives have not been studied for policy making, they have not been compiled, so it would be a nice idea to utilize them. The research was done with certain objectives, so I'm going very fast so that I will be able to finish it in time. Now the paper identifies the focal point and it observes that there is a need to consolidate narrative as a significant part of the expansive proof base needed to illuminate complex strategy and policy measures. So against the backdrop of the COVID-19, we saw that nearly 90% of the workforce in the unorganized sector and millions of the people in the metropolitan regions, they were out of their home. There was an abrupt lockdown to control the extent of the epidemic, and the migrant workers were confronted with emergency, job loss, starvation, oppression, and frightful communities were intended to keep on social distance. Against this backdrop, the study emphasizes the need for policymaking in the changing economic systems and the fluctuating financial atmosphere to shield and to shelter the weak, segregated, and dejected migrant workers. Now, what is the methodology? A systematic review of the literature was done. For this purpose, a narration or a narrative was conceptualized as an illustration of experience, a story-like format presented in either the first or the third person. Given the goal of this review was to inform those in using narration information for affecting policymaking. So when we went through the literature, it was found that the accounts are an essential wellspring of data about migrants, transients, relocation, migration, and reveal how they are depicted and brought about. Presently, the media shares the narratives of the migrant workers, a minority community, to take part in the public arena that permits them to present their portrayal, interests, and character. Post-lockdown in India, a large number of COVID-19 migrant workers started their long trip homeward, with their kids gripping their pitiful belongings, swarming vehicles about the abrupt lockdown due to the pandemic. They were confronted with the starvation, desperation, the fierceness of the security services, and doubt of networks and shocking passing away. So a lot of researchers have pointed out these facts. Migrant workers' prevailing conditions have always been bad, but now the economy saw the breakability of the state social policy frameworks, the disintegration of ongoing advancement, and the crucial requirement for strategy and policymaking measures. The migrant workers' helpless state and lodging, confined, unhygienic, unsanitary lodging that they have, and other exploitative conditions reveal their circumstances clearly, and these circumstances were aggravated by the COVID-19. Now, narrative has been used for myth creation. The narrative in the course of a pandemic is considered as myth creation, in which the stories affect and change a novel world order. The aggregation of inconsistencies starts showing up in a flare, including outdated nature and perseverance of borders, the fascination and fear of outsiders, migrants in particular, rumors and development intensity of illness, pestilence, disease, pandemics. All these are taken account, and a myth is created. The migrant workers are treated as others. Now, the media reports are frequently the initial narrators of the episode of an outbreak, other than the narrative itself. At the point when the epidemic looms over a worldwide populace, there is a dread in the population, amongst the people, and they think that the migrants are responsible for passing germs and transferring illness, and all these reports from the media. Concerning the globalized world, the influence of the COVID-19 pandemic were discernible worldwide within the millennium of migration, with a focused conversation on epidemics. We see that othering everywhere. It occurs in other countries, such as in the portrayal of the Chinese. It was seen in other places also worldwide. So the international media also depicted this othering of the migrants. The migrant workers are also treated as stereotypes. Tan, a researcher, uncovered that the media had dispersed reports of both the positive and negative narratives of the migrants.
Dr. Aurum, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, sir, I'll finish in 2 minutes. Now, the migrants are also regarded as anonymous and identityless. Researchers have revealed that the migrants are regarded as an identityless collection of masses for marketing requirements, and the non-appearance of the narratives in the international discourse in other parts of the world also reveals their humiliating depiction and their undesirable portrayal. In India also, we see that the media had a lot of news which was covered. I will just show a few pictures because these images are more emphatic, more important than words, and they depict a lot of things. So we had these workers who were treated very brutally. They were, we have this Suren Pandey who was strolled 110 kilometers for him to reach his home. We have others from Patna, from Rajasthan, from various states going towards their home, and they were in a very bad shape. So we see that the public policy had failed and the social policy also had failed. So there were hundreds and millions of people who were in extreme poverty and hunger, and this was the condition in which they had to survive. With this, we reached the conclusion there was an increasing acknowledgement amongst the researchers that the sphere of public strategy and policy creating can use these narratives, and these narratives can be a significant component of proof and evidence, which is needed to illuminate the approach for making policies. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arun, and it's very insightful. In fact, we see lots of media report initial time when the first lockdown happened. They were, some people are going by cycle for 2000 kilometers, 1500 kilometers, and media was in fact projecting them as hero. Actually, the story is there in the tragedy, and they are facing problem, but that issue was not coming. So
Yes.
sometimes media miss the insight how to create a narrative so that it can create a positive policy outcome. And most of the Indian media actually failed in that. Few picked out some stories like bicycling people, walking people, but very few brought out the issue how they are, experiencing the problem. What can be the future of those workers? Those stories are very less. So that is how we find, media, even the previous paper about judiciary, these play sometimes, you have to see who are controlling this, who are in the power, who are creating this narrative. So these are very important. We have to look into. So thank you for bringing those issues. Now I think Athira has come. We'll go to Athira. I think yours PPT is okay now. You got the connection, Athira?
Yes, sir. It is
Okay.
resolved.
So Athira's paper title is Pitfalls of Law Related to Migrant Workers. Athira is from Central University of Kerala. And over to you, Athira.
Thank you, sir. Organizers, could you please play my PPT? Uh, so I'll move on to my subject. So when the lockdown was announced, we know that the migrant workers across India were on the road. And this exodus has happened because of the inefficient management. But it also questioned the efficacy of laws related to migrant workers in the country. So the entire spotlight was put on a particular act, that is a 1979 Interstate Migrant Workers Act. Though this act has been repealed by the Labour Code, the 2020 Labour Code, and it is only a matter of time because the repealation will come into force at any point of time. Anyway, I think it is pertinent to discuss all the features of the act so that we can compare and contrast what are the differences that has occurred in the code and what were the advantages that were in the 1979 act, though it were on the papers for several decades, but some kind of advantages that is favorable to the migrant workers was there, which has been completely diluted in the 2020 code. So moving on to the next slide, please. The features of the act. Next slide. Regarding, we know that when we look into the features of the act, you can see that it is mainly to regulate the employment of interstate migrant workers, that is as well as to ensure decent working condition, because the migrant workers in the 1970s or 1950s to 70s period, they were exploited by the middlemen, the contractors. So in order to reduce prevent these contractors from exploiting them, there was a committee was constituted, and the committee has recommended for the adoption of a specific law that address interstate migrant workers. So because they found that the Contract Labor Abolition Act was not enough, was not covering the problems of faced by this interstate migrant workers. Why I'm saying is that we know that till now the states are following Contract Labor Abolition Act. Even though we have this 1979 Act, the states still following Contract Labor Abolition Act, That is why I noted that point. So coming to especially we have to look into the definition of Interstate Migrants Act. Here you can see that the migrants who are recruited through a contractor for employment in another state. This definition of interstate migrant worker has been widened in the code, in the 2020 code, that you can see later in my PPT. And it should be noted that this act applies to the establishment which employs at least 5 migrant laborers. Again, this provision has also been changed. Okay, then coming to what you mean by, so I'm making some terminologies. I'm giving you some terminologies here so as to understand more about the definition part. So here you can see establishment means it can be any government office or department or local authority or any enterprises owned by a private person. So it can be public or private. And I mean, the important point is that it has to be registered. So no employer or principal employer can employ an interstate migrant worker without any registration. And you have, when you take the data, you can see that several states has not taken any steps to register the establishment. And I have got this data from Hindu, that is in the 2016-17 period, only in Kerala, which is considered as a prime a forerunner in the case of protection of migrant workers, has only registered 16 establishment, which is comparatively a good number. And here again, next slide, here again I am another terminology is about contractor. So 3 persons we have to look into, that is interstate migrant workers, the contractor, and the principal employer. These are the 3 persons who decide the fate of interstate migrant worker. I mean, two person, the contractor as well as the principal employer, decide the fate of interstate migrant workers. So here the contractor plays a crucial role while it comes to the welfare of migrant laborers. And the contractor, he has to, you can see the definition of contract labor here. So he is only an agent who supply workers to a particular establishment. So before that, he has to obtain license, and in the license agreement, it will be specifically provide what are the conditions he has to follow. And if he violates the condition, then the licensing officer has the power to revoke or suspend his license. And the other point, that is section 12, which is very important, that is the contractor has to furnish details of recruited interstate migrant workers to the authorities of both host state and the home state. So while this, if this data was in was with the state government, then we didn't have it, or it could have been managed. This exodus could have been managed wisely by the state government, and after consulting before making any decision by the central government. So this section 12 has been very much diluted. It has not effectively implemented. And you can see that RTA filed by one of the Anjali Bharadwaj, she procured a data showing that only 33,776 workers have been registered under the Interstate Migrant Workers Act. So the highest number who registration came from Kerala and Jharkhand, and the worst performers in the list was Delhi, Dehradun, and Patna. They haven't registered any person for the last 5 years. So this is a condition that we are actually facing. Even though there are law, we have the efficacy of law is very questionable. Because the states are not taking any steps to implement or to give effect to the object of that law. So then again, section 12b speaks about the issuance of a passbook by the contractor. Why? Because this provision you no longer find in the code. This has been removed from the code, but this provision, this issuance of passbook, it is very important because this was the only document that can be retained by the migrant workers. He will that is, it is a creation of awareness. He will know what are the proposed rate, modes of payment, the displacement allowance, etc. What he is entitled to. So the contractor has to maintain the passbook in an up-to-date manner, and it has to be kept with the workers. So again, the contractor has to take several measures to ensure fair treatment of workers, like minimum wages, equal payment, suitable accommodation, free medical facilities, etc. Next slide. And you can see, if the what if the contractor fails to make payment? He is not giving payment to the worker. Then the principal employer has to step in. and he has to give the wages and other allowances to the principal employer. Later on, the principal employer can recover it from the contractor. So the other responsibility lies with the principal employer as well as the contractor is they have to maintain registers and records of interstate migrant workers employed by them. So these are the things under they have in noticing about with respect to other states. Then coming to there are provisions for inspectors, and there were provision for punishment too. That is, the inspectors can be appointed by the establishments where this interstate migrant workers were employed, and they can check the records, and they can even seize those records if they found some irregularity, or if they found that this principal employer is acting against the provisions of the act, or the contractor is violating the license of the license condition. So you can see that the provision, if they violates the provision of this act or conditions of license, they will pay.
We have very less time now because some other presenters also joined. So quickly, please conclude. Maybe another 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. So here you can see there is provision for punishment too. The act, the criticism, I might say that mainly the state has stepped away from its obligation without implementing the act, and the state was more favorable in implementing Contract Labor Legislation Act, because Contract Labor Abolition Act, even okay. Then coming to the next slide, please. Labor codes. So we know that around 29 labor laws was amalgamated into 4 codes, and the first code, a wage code, was there, and later on 3 codes was passed by the parliament, and mainly the occupational safety code has to be noted here because it repealed the 1979 Migrant Workers Act. But one of the positive acts that brought by this occupational safety code is that it covers not only migrant workers recruited through contractor, but also employed directly by them. Okay. Then here also you can see the definition part, and there is here the interstate migrant workers is considered as migrant contract labor under the wages code, whereas the occupational safety and social security code treat them as contract labor as well as interstate migrant workers, because the term interstate migrant workers also found place under the definition of contract labor. So these codes, both the social security as well as the occupation code, has given a wider definition when you compare it with the 1979 Act, that you can see in the next slide. Next slide, please. So coming to next slide. So coming to the exact part which is dealt, which is specifically addressing this migrant workers, is part 2 of chapter 11. Here again, you can, when you compare it with the previous 1979 Act, you can see that the establishment here means this one is applicable only to establishment employing 10 or more migrant workers. So again, there is they have increased the number. Then these are some of the provisions you can see under the Occupational Safety Act, which again dilutes the entire the benefits accrued on the migrant laborers by the 1979 Act. So next one, next slide, it is very important because the state government and central government has to take steps to collect data of all migrant workers regarding their health, occupational safety, and their health statistics, and they have to maintain database or record. Okay, the next slide. Okay, this is provisions has not been rated. They entirely diluted the 1979 Act, though it was only on papers. The 1979 was only on papers, but when you put that spotlight on 1979, everyone started to discuss about it. But again, you face a situation, say, okay, this is not there. This has been repealed. Another one is there. that is the labor code. So the how the labor code is going to affect these people, that we have to wait and see. And I have a proposal here that the central government has to step back. Actually, the central government can provide a framework for the state government, and within which the state government can make some policies for the welfare of these workers. The state government has to initiate steps, policies, so that
Athira,
more
I can
accommodating.
conclude. We have very less time
Okay.
now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, Athira, thank you for concluding. In fact, those who want to read more, and they can collect the PPT and have a look. Our next presenter is Shruti Singhi, and Shruti's paper is and Shruti Singhi and Anirudh Tagat. Both are related to Monk Prayogshala, Mumbai, and their topic is Lawless, a socio-legal perspective on labor law and migrant workers displaced by COVID-19. So over to you. Please conclude in 7 minutes. We have 3 papers to go and we will have question answer also.
Thank you so much. I'll just share my slide. So I will be presenting today on behalf of myself and my colleague. My colleague is not available at the moment, so I'll just start my presentation. So our topic is lawless, a policy perspective on labor law with migrant workers displaced by COVID-19. So according to the latest data, about 104 million workers lost their livelihoods during the first lockdown, which started in June of 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. And during the second lockdown, this number was about 69 million workers. So the governments of developing countries have been intervening in the the government of developing countries have made interventions in the economy to mediate shocks through policies like social security, benefits in employment, travel, and access to goods and services. In India, too, such policies have been introduced, like the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Generation Scheme, among others. So. So in this paper, we are looking at we are arguing that a closer look at India's drive to formalize labor and employment policies are warranted. Uh, because of limited pro-worker reforms that are available at the moment, and since the economy has taken, sorry, I forgot to change the slide. So since the economy has taken a hit, there was dire need for intervention in this area. Um, so yeah, I'm done with this. So in this flowchart, the blue, the states in blue, hotter to colder is where, sorry, colder states to the hotter states, like blue. People are migrating from the blue states to the orange states, and the states Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and West Bengal, which are highlighted in red, are the ones where the flow of migrant workers is maximum. Uh, so this index, this index is the Interstate Migrant Policy Index. It is a compilation of list of policies which are in. It compiles a list of policies which are in place on the state level, which are amenable to migrants and their integrations in the integration in the society, and the ability of migrant workers to avail these social benefits in the society, in the states that where they are. So this has been seen maximum in Rajasthan, Mizoram, and Sikkim. This is because these states have also seen. Sorry, just 1 second. Sorry, am I audible? Hello?
You are audible, but some noises are there. Now it is okay.
Okay, sorry about that. As I was saying, in these states, there are the rules regarding registrations are more detailed, and accounting for penalties to employers are very pronounced, as well as provisions and of benefits and housing, safety equipment without discrimination is very prevalent. Uh, sorry. Okay, so because of the COVID pandemic, the government has had to make trade-offs between. They had to choose between economic, between economic policies and uh, a welfare of workers. So there has been mediation
Shruti,
of.
we have 2 more papers to go, so quickly finish. Huh? We'll have more time, even if we have 10 minutes for discussion, it will be okay. Quickly conclude.
Yeah. Seeing the background and the introduction that I just gave, in the recent session of the Parliament, the monsoon session, the government had introduced 3 bills, which was the occupational safety, health and working conditions code on wages and social security code bills. These have been introduced, but have not all have been passed, and they have been uh, directed to the standing committee to review. So these bills, excuse me. So the idea behind these bills was to incentivize economic growth while upholding the interests of migrant workers, and to extend labor flexibility to Indian companies, that is freeing them from restrictive labor practices to improve the economy. This is the mitigating factors that they have been considering to boost the economy, so that we can have some semblance of normalcy in the country regarding economics and industries. So these bills include these acts which formerly existed regarding labor and just like normally the unorganized sector in the country. There's more details about this in the paper. Just because of shortage of time, I'm just like skimming through this.
Yes.
So we argue that. We argue that while it is important to mitigate the factors while it is important to mitigate the factors, mitigate welfare of labor and industrial policies to uh, to boost the economy and get the country going again. It is also important to ensure that basic rights and basic welfare is available for these migrant workers. Uh, so
Please conclude.
there are yes, sir, almost done. So there are implementational drawbacks in the policies that exist and the policies that have been introduced, which the paper talks more about. There's also mention of role of unions in the policies which have been changed since the last policies that we had, which have been inculcated in these current bills.
Can we stop now?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
I'm done. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Shruti.
I'm so sorry.
No issue. It happens, but we have to go. We have to conclude by 5:55, and we have 2 more papers. So next is Anand Majumdar. He's an educator and student from Alberta, Canada. His paper is COVID-19 and challenges of ethnic minorities. So over to you, Ananda.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Have you listened my? Can you see my?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So now can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes. But Ananda, you can take around 6 minutes if you want to give one question at least towards end.
Okay. So this is my background. I'm at the University of Alberta from Canada, Department of Education, and I'm also affiliated with the Harvard Graduate School of Professional Education as an educator. It's an online studies. And also I am a certificate in my process to GRFDT New Delhi online certifications about migrations. So this is my methodology I have done through various journal reviews and newsletters. So what I have done, it's a documentary analysis with a qualitative approach. So there is no statistics. It is a generalizations of writing and expressions.
Okay. I think the
And it is
PPT is not coming full. Some cut is there. So if you can.
Okay. So can you hear me now?
How we can hear? The PPT is not in full. It is coming half actually. So no problem. You can speak.
Okay. So it's called the challenges of the migrant and the minority section. The race is still a risk of the factor even in the 21st century. So the examples are available through the brutal killings of Afro-American George Floyd by the police in the United States. It's the brutal detentions and the deportation of the Black British citizens Windrush by the Home Office of the United Kingdoms are all symbols of the racial punishment by the authority of the Western world. Racism is a matter of life and death for all ethnic minorities worldwide. Why does then the COVID, and especially the COVID-19, it's a really, really harsh situations for those minorities and migrant sections of every country in the world. And my topic is the COVID-19 and the minorities. So the COVID-19 has shows us about the inequalities of the ethnic minorities in countries like the United Kingdoms and the United States especially. It is a message that the majorities and minorities of the populations are in the same fear of COVID-19, but they are not in the same boat for the protections from the virus. And between the early March to mid-May, a survey has been launched in England and Wales to observe the COVID-19 cases, including the total death of tolls. It has been observed that the death ratios of the Black men and women are twice, I would say, Afro-American or Afro-British because of the war stuff. So it was a way high than the white British and the Americans and all these things. Now, the political will force, the social, economic, and limitations and insufficiencies limit to the use of the facility provided by the political authorities and establishments. So actually, the political will force is also not actually willing to implement for the betterment of the minorities because of the 90s, because they are very much prioritizing the domestic, the national, the citizens of their countries and all these things. The circumstances of those undocumented migrants, the refugees and asylum seekers who are living in a broad coronavirus environment, especially in England, Wales, and the Scotland communities from the South Asian region, are in the high danger due to the pandemic. The death tolls are the highest according to the hospital COVID-19 deaths. The communities from India and Pakistan are the worst casualties during the pandemic. They are dying after being admitted to the hospital with coronavirus. The mortality rate of the South Asian communities is estimated 20%, higher than the white groups of the United Kingdoms. According to the British Medical Journal, more than half of the pregnant women hospitalized with coronavirus infections between the March 1st to the April 14th are from the ethnic minority origin. The Black women are at the high risk compared to the white women during their pregnancy with the COVID-19. We can also say the Afro-American and the majorities of the white British citizen. According to the Professor Kevin Fenton, yes.
Can you do 2-3 main findings only? Because you have 2 papers actually. I missed it. 2 papers we have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the challenges and again, the economy relates to their limitations of access to facilities. The minorities are mostly underemployed, unemployed, without any assistance in most part of the world. The child poverty rate in the United Kingdom is one of the most worsening part of the society. An estimated half of the children from the Black regions and the overall half of the children from the South Asian origins are living in the poverty. So this is the situation. It is a result of their social economic status. Women from Bangladesh and Pakistan have been found lowest life expectancy They estimated only 2% of the white British household have been found fewer bedrooms than they needed. On the other side, estimated 30% Bangladeshi and 60% Pakistani and 50% of the Black African household have been found to live in a congested living room together. So if you live like in such a situation, then definitely the coronavirus will be expanded. Now, what the conclusions is that what can we do? Yeah, so what can you do? It's the conclusions. The UNICEF works worldwide to protect the rights of the minorities and migrant people. The UNICEF is also working. So this is something the UNICEF is doing because of this and all these things. Working for the displaced children by providing life protections, equipment in refugees camp, child-friendly spaces for the safe place. UNICEF and its other non-governmental organizations are working with the government, the private sectors, and the civil society in every country for the solutions of migrations, minority problems. The Global Refugee Compact is an international agreement that has set up several building blocks for a stronger and positive global responses on refugee issues. In 2018, GRC provides a roadmap of the various humanitarian international organizations and host countries for the betterment of minority and migrant communities. They urge them for the integrations of the migration community into the mainstream of society. GRC implements 4 objectives for the development of minorities and migrants. GRC gives pressure on host countries, increase the refugees' self-reliance, expansion of resettlement, and is accessed by those communities and safe return of all refugees, migrant temporary workers, or any other minority class to their original countries. UNICEF and UNCHR are committing the Global Compact of Refugees to make the blueprint. So these are the initiatives that they have done. So this is my bibliography.
Ananda.
And thank you.
Because we are running short of time. So next one is Rima Devnath, and she is a research scholar from Greece, Assam, and her topic is COVID-19 pandemic, return migration and livelihood struggles. Over to you, Rima. Please conclude in 5 minutes. You have very less. I'm very sorry. Yes, unmute. Please unmute. We are not able to hear you. Rima, we are not able to hear you. I think there is some audio issue. Now it is okay. Please go ahead. 5 minutes.
Sir, I request the organizers to play the 4th number slide as time is very short.
Yeah.
Hello. 4th number slide. Number 4 slide. Objectives of the study. Okay, thank you so much. So my study is mainly about to understand the struggles, livelihood struggles that the returned migrants are making at the place of their origin, and also to understand the variations in their struggle. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Hello. Okay. So my area of study is Udalguri district of Assam, and district of Assam, and my methodology is qualitative in nature, where I have used in-depth interviews. So the number 7 slide, please. Findings of the study. Hello. Yes, thank you. No, 7 number. Challenges faced by challenges. Yes. Okay. Challenges. Okay. So the findings of the study states that the first important challenge the migrant workers they are facing is getting a secure source of income at the place of origin. Most of them are not getting regular source of income. The second problem they're facing is lack of skill, because most of the rural migrants are seen to engage in low paid jobs in urban centers, where little focus is given on their skill development. Now, these low skilled migrant workers are facing difficulties in getting work in local areas. And number 4 problem the migrant workers are facing is the problem of capital constraint, because in order to start a small business, they need little amount of capital. But due to lockdown, they are already under huge debt burden. So they're facing challenges in while becoming self-employed. And the fourth important challenge they are facing is difficulty in decision making, because some of the migrant workers, they have little saving, but they are confused where to invest because of the uncertain market environment. Next slide, please. Next slide. Hello, am I audible? Okay. So, yes, coping strategies. So the migrant workers who have land, they are trying for innovative methods of farming.
I think some problem with Rima's connection. So,
Hello.
so better you go to the conclusion.
Yes. So I would like to conclude that migration has become an important alternative for the rural people, but due to insufficient employment opportunities, they're facing serious issues. So serious policy concern is needed here, especially the rural development issue. Though Manrega has helped some of the migrant workers to get work, but still this is not sufficient. So a serious policy concern is needed here so that the problem is solved.
Okay, so thank you, Rima, and thank you for concluding in time. In fact, I'm sorry I couldn't give you much time. So the next presenter is Navas Marilyn Kadar, and a research scholar from School of International Relations and Politics, MG University, Kottayam. Her topic is interested migrant workers and COVID-19 situation in Kerala. So over to you, Navas, but quickly complete. We have important session, just another 5 minutes left.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can hear my voice. Dr. Sadar, Dr. Sadananda Sahu, sir, who is presiding over this session, Ms. Madhuri, who is coordinating this session skillfully, and the organizers of the international webinar series who have gave us the opportunity to present this paper. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, everyone. In this paper, I present my view on the human rights violations suffered by migrant workers in Kerala during the COVID period. The core subject of this paper is related to the Interstate Workmen Act of 1979. The Act of 1979 was explained in great detail by Ms. Adira Raju. Thank you, madam. So I will tell the core point only. The legal and constitutional right guarantees are unavailable to millions of workers from the state of India to Kerala. Dominant sections of opinion making in Kerala society or legislative machinery in Kerala has not identified the need to stop rights denial of these vulnerable workers in a time-bound and accountable manner with immediate priority. Due to non-transferability of legal entitlements, the migrants are not able to enjoy many rights evolved through central and state legislation and policies, which the workers had enjoyed before migration. The central government could consider migration as a criteria for allocation of resources to different states. A strategy to reach out to migrant workers coming from diverse backgrounds and different languages could be introduced as social strategy by the law enforcement agencies or the public service providers, which can deal with the issues of lack of communication between migrant and locals. All the employment acts and laws related to laborers and their wages are made for the protection of the laborers. The Interstate Migrant Workmen Act of 1979 was also drafted with the same objective, but this law has not undergone any timely changes, and this can be pointed out as its shortcoming. Law defines interstate laborers as possible. Law defines the interstate migrants laborers as people who migrate to other states through job contractors as per the arrangement of work facilities of any organization with mutual consent letter or with the consent of government or local authority. The section 4 of this law also states that it is mandatory to register such laborers and they cannot be made to work in the workplace without registration. If this law was strictly followed in Kerala, then government must have had the precise details regarding the interstate labors. In Kerala, the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act was passed on 1983 and was amended on 13th October 2017. But the correct number of interstate migrant laborers in Kerala are still unavailable. As per the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act of Kerala, the contractors who bring these laborers are supposed to register in the state, and if the information provided by them are found to be incorrect, they can be fined for an amount of range 1,000 to 1 lakh. The people who reach Kerala so are not registered under the Interstate Migrants Workmen Act and are deprived of any benefit from both the government and the management. When the account of these interstate laborers were checked during this COVID season, the numbers of registered laborers were found only to be 5 lakhs. This reveals the grave mistake that has happened from the side of Kerala government in the making those labor register their manner. The Kerala government order 960/2006, published on 3rd August 2016, clearly states about the renovation and hygiene of the living environment of these laborers. The order, which says that they should be provided with the facilities of accommodation and cooking their meals, also states that the bathroom facility should be provided as one bathroom for either 3 families or 25 laborers. But the investigations prove that the actual conditions are far beyond this order. Many of the laborers are surviving in really unhygienic circumstances. So I conclude that, I conclude that during this unusual situation of COVID, many of the interstate migrant laborers had to face many problems, which include loss of life, health, and wealth, because we failed to design or develop any special project or policies from there for the lockdown itself. It's argued that the government should create policies based on the human rights and fundamental rights. A rethinking and amendment is inevitable on the Interstate Migrant Employment Act of 1979 based on the Articles 14, 15, and 21 of Indian Constitution. Once again, thanks to the organizing team for giving me opportunity to present this wonderful paper.
Thank you, Nabas. I'm really sorry. I think Rima and you didn't get sufficient time because 2 more, extra paper we have to adjust, and we are waiting eagerly to hear Professor Udaya Rajan. Very soon we are, beginning the valedictory session. Anybody is there to coordinate? I thank you all presenters. You have brought so many issues, so many insightful, policy suggestions, and please prepare your full paper and send to the organizer. And I thank you again to the organizer for giving me this opportunity to chair. Thank you.
If nobody has any question, I think we can move on to our next session.
No, I think no time. Sar is already there, so we'll start.
Okay, so I thank Dr. Sadananda Sahu sir for his expert coordination of this session, and I also thank all the presenters for their hard work and doing such wonderful presentations, and I thank all the participants and the technical team for their efforts and support. To our valedictory session, is it okay?
Yes, okay. So
now we have our valedictory session by Professor S. Udaya Rajan, and the session is chaired by Dr. Sadananda Sahu. He's from Indira Gandhi National Open. He's an assistant professor.
No need. Madhuri already introduced, and the audience are same. So
okay.
Just conclude quickly.
Okay, so I invite our chair to introduce and welcome our speaker.
Okay, so it is my pleasure again to chair this session, and with us Professor Udaya Rajan, who doesn't need introduction. We have grown by reading his paper from his career span for more than 4 decades, working on migration and diaspora. Did so many projects with World Bank, Rockefeller Foundation, MFA, and UNESCO, and so many. And also he's the editor of the prestigious migration journal, that is called International Journal of Migration and Development. It's very widely circulated and very well known across the globe. And I think no migration scholar will miss him with his 4-decade-long work, which span almost all aspects of migration. And Kerala being the one of the front runner in the migration policy in India and also in the world. I think after Philippines, people quote Kerala for their robust studies, research, data, and policy on migration. And scholar like Professor Rajan and his colleagues have done immensely work in last 40 years, which actually we cannot ignore that study. These are very important for India's migration policy in general and Kerala's migration policy in particular, which has given lots of perspectives for other state government to enact migration policy. And besides that, I must say, he was chair professor of MOIA, Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs, which is no more now, but it's a very prestigious chair, and he worked immensely on that. With that, he actually founded the research center there called Center for Indian Migration. And he has, again, I must say, he has created lots of, kind of policy frame for engaging governments with the remittance, how to utilize remittance, how to integrate the return migrants, and all those things. And his recent work, I must say, is very important. He's working on how to manage data. In fact, if you don't have data, policies are useless. We can say many policies are failed because of lack of data, and he's working and focusing on that now. And sir, I have many things to say, but we are all waiting to hear you. And this is a very important topic. COVID has disrupted the migration, disrupted the lifestyle, disrupted everything. So we want to hear from you now. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Can you hear me, Sahu?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thanks to the organizer. Some of them I know. I can name them, like Divya Balan was calling me several times that I should be speaking in this conference. Of course, I know Vijulal, I know Sadanand, I think most of the people I'm seeing, 80 people attending, close to 80. I think most of them probably heard me something.
Sir.
So I'm not sure what I should speak today, because I am speaking, quite some time in many meetings on this. It is not just first time I'm speaking, but I might have given at least 60 to 70 Zoom presentation on migration over the last 6 months during the COVID-19, because we are celebrating 200 days of lockdown now. It's like 200 days, almost completed. We are 203 days now from March 24. So still we are not back to normal. So I just wanted to start with saying, I think the COVID-19, or you call them whatever you call them, basically this is a health crisis. But people like us, or the policymaker, all the politicians, we made this health crisis into the migration crisis. I think otherwise, COVID is nothing to do with migration. I think we should start now doing research on that, because COVID is supposed to be a health crisis. But we have converted the health crisis into the migration crisis or humanitarian crisis, whatever you call them. You can name whatever you call them, but that is what the reality, what we made. Also, you should remember, when we talk about COVID-19, COVID-19 is not discriminatory. COVID-19 has no bias. It reaches the American president's house. He can't stop the COVID coming to him. It reaches our superstar in India, Amitabh Bachchan. And it goes to poor people, rich people, developing country, rich country, poor, rich, male, female. it has no bias. I think something we should learn from the COVID-19 is that it has no discrimination. We have so much discrimination in this country. In the name of caste, in the name of sex, in the name of religion, in the name of state. But the COVID-19, thank God, it is not discriminatory. If it is discriminatory, it is killing only in one country or one state, it would have been different. But it goes everywhere. Kerala had a zero COVID in May 3 or May 4. Today we have 10,000. And Kerala was number 1 in March 24. Now Maharashtra is number 1. See, so COVID is moving like anything. But what happened when we decided to take the policies, all our policies, we have done in the name of COVID, like people do in the name of God. I think whatever we have done, both state government, central government, global, everything, whatever we have done is basically discriminatory. Take the example of lockdown. Lockdown is discriminatory. It has not affected everyone. Same way. It affected probably everyone, but not in the same way. If you look at the inequality brought by the policies of the government, say lockdown, triple lockdown, I never heard this word, cantonment, hotspot, these are all words we started hearing. And then work at home. These are all discriminatory. And many people are affected by that. Probably the most important person who is affected by the COVID-19 policies is, I would rank them as number 1, probably the migrants. And it is not that we don't know, they had this problem. But only COVID-19 exposed the migrants issue. It was there. We know this. I don't think it is something we don't know. We know this. COVID-19, we know that what is called, this is something crisis. But COVID-19 has exposed to all of us about the migration. That means we have to be grateful for COVID-19 in one sense, because it exposed the migration crisis. It exposed the migrant issues, not in one place, throughout the world. Today, everybody, every day, at least 1 or 2 webinars will be there anywhere in the global, something related to migration, displacement, internal migration, migration policy, sustainable development goal. You know, any topic, there will be a talk on migration. Today, at least 1 or 2 webinar is happening somewhere. Today, I am speaking to you. Somewhere, somebody might be speaking on migration in some country, in some context, maybe in African context. So something that the migration research or the migration issues became a hotspot today. The COVID-19 people made hotspot not to go there. But now migration is a very hotspot for migration research and policy maker. I think this is something that we have to be very, very grateful for the COVID-19. COVID-19 exposed our policies, exposed our act, exposed our failures, exposed our shortcomings, exposed our data. It exposed all of us. As a researchers, we have also failed. It is not India failed migrants. Community failed. Church failed. Groups have failed. Panchayat failed. Municipalities are failed. Our MPs failed. Our MLAs failed. Everyone failed the migrants. The problem is, still we don't know who is migrant. The biggest question, I was looking at the Bible some time back. There is a question called, who is your neighbor? Who is your neighbor? Now everybody asking today in India, who is migrant? How do you define them? Who should look after them? That is where we failed. Because migrants are present, omnipresent. If they are from Bihar sitting in Kerala, we tell them they belong to Odisha. They belong to UP because they are from UP. And UP people think they are not here. They are in Kerala. They are in Tamil Nadu. It is a duty of the Kerala, Tamil Nadu government. Why should we worry? But we all failed to recognize migrant is an Indian. He is an Indian. He may be from Bihar, Rajasthan, or Uttar Pradesh, or Northeast, but we failed to recognize, like, who is my neighbor, who is migrant. We recognize to identifying the migrant. And we have failed to recognize them. They are Indians. They are Indians. How do they recognize? Within our own country, we have stopped people's mobility. Today, there is no correct number, but my number in 2020, when I talked to all of you, India has 400 million migrants, internal migrants, people who are living in a place they are not born. Living in a place they are not born. Close to 400 million people. Not one, 400 million people are migrants. Out of the people who are listening now, most of us are migrants. Most of us are migrants. I am migrant from Tamil Nadu. I am not from Kerala. And Kerala people will be in somewhere. So we are all migrants. So 400 million people are migrants. But please remember, by the lockdown, how many are affected? We have close to 200 million people are moving within the states and between states. Some people move within the district in a particular state. Like somebody might be moving from Trivandrum in Kollam, or somebody moving from Kottayam to Ernakulam. Interstate, inter-district, they are in one state, they are moving between the state, between the districts. And some people move between states, like Kerala to Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh to Mumbai. And if you take those numbers, interstate and intra-district, within the district they move, that will be close to 200 million people. Out of that, 140 million are migrants. 2/3. So my number is right now 140 million in this country were directly or indirectly affected by the lockdown and its impact. Because we are not only allowed people to move between states, we have people not allowed people to move between districts in the same state. I never had e-pass in my life, last 60 years. I had only e-visas. Every collector is acting like a embassy or the High Commission, issuing the visa to between districts. We never had. I don't think we are going to see again. E-pass. Between district, between states, some states even close the border with bricks, with mud, thinking that they can stop COVID. They can stop COVID. Close everything. Close the temple. Close schools. Close church. Close masjid. Everything you close. COVID will not come. That's what we did on March 24. Lockdown 1.0. Then we had lockdown 2.0. lockdown 3.0. And then we had lockdown 4.0, official lockdown. Then we started talking about unlockdown 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. We are now running 5.0 till October 31st. There may be 6.0, maybe 7.0. We don't know how long we are talking about unlockdown 6.0, 7.0, but we are right now 5.0. But still, we are not back to the normal of March 24 or March 22. We had a Janata curfew, the Sunday, the last Sunday. Please remember, when we had the lockdown 1.0, the virus in India was just 500. Just 500 coronavirus on March 24 in this country. Just 500. And Kerala was number 1. Should be number 1. If you think migrants, if you stop migration, COVID will not move. Kerala, people definitely move. Kerala has both internal and international migrants and people coming in, going in, highest flow. And Kerala was number 1 in March 24. Who is number 2? Maharashtra. The difference between Maharashtra and Kerala is only 10 to 15. And today, Kerala is where? And Maharashtra is where? Of course, Kerala is still picking up. Second wave, I don't know, there may be third wave, maybe fourth wave. Like we are talking about lockdown 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Even COVID-19 will say first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave. We'll go on talking. It will continue maybe for another 3 years or 4 years. We don't know. But what did we do during the lockdown? We stopped everything. Stopped the mobility. For migrants, there is no mobility. They have nothing. When the government, state government and central government talking between life and death. Life and death. For the migrant, it is not death. It is between life and livelihoods. For them, livelihood is more important. When we discuss about life and death in the name of COVID-19, when we have closed everything, for them it is a livelihood. They are moving to make livelihood. They are moving to make money to send back home. Remittances. You can imagine hundreds of things about them. But did we succeed? Today, India is number 2 out of 217 countries. We are number 2. And maybe within another 1 month, we may be number 1. I don't want to predict we should be number 1. It can be, because we were in 10th rank, 9th rank, 8th rank. We were graduated. We reached number 2. And not very far. Between number 1 and number 2 was 20 lakhs last month. Today, the difference between number 1 and number 2 is just 8 lakhs. Of course, now the number average is not 1 lakh, it is coming to 60, 70,000, but still it is 60, 70,000 is little high. So we don't know if the second wave is going to come, winter is going to pick up like Europe, North Kerala, so North India, probably, we don't know. So we may get number 1. And the number of deaths, we are number 3. Our death rates are low. But we are number 3 right now. And average death is around less than 1,000 right now. And the difference between the number 2 and number 3 is only 40,000. There is a possibility. There is a possibility. We will be moving towards number 2. But only I pray God. Because people say it is God's curse on the globally to have COVID-19. COVID-19. So COVID failed us. We thought we can stop COVID, but COVID succeeded us, our policies. Still it moved. It moved everywhere. Though we closed, they were moving. And COVID has a free hand throughout the world. Is there anybody has seen the COVID? Anyone has seen the COVID? No. What we are fighting now is the Third World War. Third World War. Look at the history of First World War and Second World War. When you talk about World War, there will be a group. One group will be fighting against other. Some country will bomb some other country. Some country will go and kill some people. Some country will come together and fight against some countries. This is what called war. But the Third World War is very simple. We never fight with another country. We are fighting ourselves. Every country is fighting themselves to stop coronavirus, to reduce the death rate, to create what is called the vaccine. Everybody is fighting themselves. But the whole world is fighting individually. Stopping flights, stopping visas, creating new policies, P1 visas, oh my God. Everything again coming to the migrants. Border is closed, international border, everything finally on the mobility. We are thinking you make the people immobile. The COVID will be immobile. But we are wrong. We are wrong. We have not succeeded. We know that right now. We could not, but of course, people will tell me that we would not done the lockdown on March 24. We would have delayed even by a month. My God, we will be already number one. Fine. But we have, whatever we have done, it affected the moving of the people, it has affected them. What did we do during the process? We have stopped the people moving. We have seen how the people were suffered. I heard from some presentation. I don't want to get into that because you had many presentations on that. I want to create, what did we do? We created 4 important points. There was a movement from city to villages. There was a movement from developed state to the, what is called the so-called states where they send more migrants. Bihar, Rajasthan, UP. Of course, we have no numbers anyway. We don't know where to send trains. We don't know where to send flights sometimes because we have no numbers. We are all walking in darkness. But we did 4 things. With all the policy, we did 4 things. The migrants were moving. We call them return migrants. And we did 4 things for them in the name of the policies. And I have seen people are talking about ACT. I have not seen even today. We are running 200 plus days now. We're celebrating 200 days of the lockdown in this country. Still, I have not seen, and I don't think anybody has seen, an employer was punished because he did not take care of the migrants. No case. No case. Why the migrants were walking on the road or walking outside? Why they are standing in the railway station? They were working for somebody before the lockdown, the earlier day, evening. Why the employers failed? Why the employers failed to protect the migrants? No question is asked. No case is going on in anywhere in the country saying that in your industry, your construction site, you are not treated. That's why they went out. We are punishing you. We are giving you fine. There is nothing. That's supposed to be the act. Only we were stopping migrants. Of course, migrants on the way, they were running. Some of them died, some of them running. We don't want to talk about that, but already had people were talking about that. We did 4 things. Return migrants were moving. And please remember, this is the first time in the Indian history of migration. The migrants went to their home with empty hands. They had nothing to carry. For example, you have seen that there was a railway track 16 people have died. There was no money there. People were going with empty hands because of our policies, because we could not protect them. That's why I said, who is your neighbor? If we to have protected them, why should they on the road? We have not protected them. So they went with empty hands. And many companies, even from the Gulf, I'll come back to the Gulf a little later, people were not paid salaries. Daylight robbery of the poor man's wages. It includes migrants. They were trying to catch the Vande Bharat flight or the Sarmik train. The employer said, go, go, go. There is a train going. Go to your place. Sir, what about my salary? We'll see. Daylight robbery of the poor migrants' wages. Who did? Us. We Indian. Because who is migrant? Who is migrant? I think still that question we have to go on asking, who is migrant? One, they went with empty hands. Second, very, very important, we always talk about migrants as individual. I think we have failed in our research, in our understanding of migration. Because one migrant supporting 4 or 5 people back at home. 4 or 5 people back at home. If I say 140 million migrants, I'm talking about 140 million families. If I talk about families, and an average family in this country is 4 to 5 people in the house, we are talking about 700 million people are directly affected by, directly benefited by migration, directly affected by migration. The money is not going from Kerala to Orissa. The money is not coming from Dubai to Kerala. That family will be in trouble. Remittances, transfer, money order, sent by migrants. So we have failed to recognize migrant mean individual. No, he belongs to a family. He has come to earn money to send back home. Not just came here to see the beauty of Kerala. No, the workers have come to earn money, sent back to wherever they have come from. So these people were, in one sense, heroes. They are heroes for their family members. They are not fighting war between India and Pakistan. They are not war heroes. Or between India and China. No. They are not war heroes. But they are heroes in their own way, in their own family. Because they are not fighting between countries. They are fighting against poverty at home. They are fighting against malnutrition at home. Because of the migration, the people are eating well. They are fighting against unemployment in their own state. They are also fighters. They are also heroes. But what did we do? What would we do? We make them zeros. Heroes become zeros during lockdown. That's why the lockdown had led to a lot of suicides. Recently, we had the CPI former director committed suicide. And we know one of the important actors committed suicide. Heroes become zeros. And we are not reporting about returned migrant suicides. We don't know. Because returned migrants are not that important like some important people. We made them zeros. Second, we made them by our policies, our programs. Yeah, they have gone home without any money. And we made them, they used to go like a hero to their home. We made them 0. Third, we made them beggars. Migrants are not beggars. Sorry. They are not beggars. They were begging for train tickets. They were begging for flight tickets. And they came from whichever state they came to, any state. They have not come asking free train tickets. No, sorry. We have seen they were looking for tickets. I know Maharashtra Chief Minister said we are going to pay the tickets from the Chief Minister Relief Fund. We know the Supreme Court came and told us, don't charge these migrants. Give them free ticket, give them food, give them water. Again, the question is, who is migrant? We forget he's an Indian. And we have made them begging for their train tickets. Oh my God. Migrants deserve much better treatments. Migrants deserve much better treatment. Fourth, the worst one, the worst situation for the migrants. We made them zeros. We made them beggars. They went with empty hands. And added to that, like the person is already having a lot of pain, we given him one more pain. What is the pain? We told them, you are the carrier of COVID-19. The stigma. The stigma. They wanted to go on March 24. You told them don't go. And May, you said we are sending a train. They would have gone on March 24 without COVID-19. When COVID is expanding, when they go, some of them will go with COVID. Because COVID is moving. It is moving faster than the migrants. And we made them what is called the stigma of carriers of COVID-19. We have given them the final hit on them. Quarantine, many things. I don't want to say people are running up and down. We know that. So we made them 4 important discrimination against them. That is why one of the migrants told in one of the interviews, we went to our states by lorries, by minivan. We were transported like livestock. We were moved between our states like a small minivan, 50, 60 people were moving. They said we were moved like livestock. No. They deserve much better. Because you can't imagine Bombay without migrants. No city in the country. If you just take out the migrants from the city, there is no city. If you take out the migrants from the Gulf, there is no Gulf. There is no Gulf. It will be winded up. But still, we treated them. Because the question comes again, who is migrant? Who is responsible to take care of them? I think that is the question, like who is your neighbor? Everybody has seen. Only some people help that who is the neighbor story. That's why I was talking in one of the college. I told them, one young boy asked me a question, sir, what we should do? It was in May. I said, you get out of your house. You walk in 4 directions. At least visit the 5 houses, straight, left, right, and back. You have to visit 20 houses. Just to see, is there any old person is sitting there? Because the government told 65 plus, don't go out. They need dialysis. They need some medicines. Some states have done. We are not telling, nobody has done anything. We have not done enough. We have not done enough. That is important. We have done. Nobody says we have not done anything. We have given them Vande Bharat flight. We have given them trains. We asked them to move. Supreme Court came. But they deserve better. We have not done. So I told the boy, walk around. Look at every house. Don't talk to them. Because there is a social distance. Just to find out, anybody need any help. Someday you may solve the problem. Somebody might say, can you buy a bread for me? Can you buy a milk for me? Or can you buy this particular cup syrup for me? Which you can. You are a young boy. Just to go and buy for them. Suppose they have no money. See, you can ask your parents or something you can collect and give them. Still, you cannot give them. Talk to somebody in that area who can provide them rice or food. If everybody has done like this, all of us, I don't think migrants would have been walking in the streets. All of us were taking care of 20 families, even one family, even one migrants. We have taken care of them. Don't walk, man. Come and stay in my house. Come and stay in my, not in my house. I have no space. Stay in my car set. Stay in the school. Stay in our church is closed. Stay in the church building. Stay in schools. Stay in our college. Come, come, come. Welcome, migrants. Some people did. I know that. It's not like I don't know. I know that. But we have failed. Again, I will go back to my statement. We have failed. Because who is migrant? What all happened? So we made them all the things. And we made them finally, I said, that they become stigma. And then what we did, we were announcing big policies. 20 lakh crores. What we announced for migrants. I want you to read. I don't want to talk about that now, because I have talked in many meetings. What is the offer for migrants in the 20 lakh crores? Again, we have missed an opportunity. Probably we should have given that hand, which they were going with the empty hands, should have given them some money in the hands. Somebody is begging. Normally we give them money. Government given them food. But money is not there. I run a small NGO in my village. I was talking with one of the ladies. She said, I have not seen 200 rupee note after March 24. At the same time, I talked to engineer couples in Bangalore. Both of them earn close to 3 lakhs every month. They said, work at home. My bank balance is now 18 lakhs. I could not spend even single money. Policies, programs, work at home till December. One side you have somebody saying, I have not seen 200 rupee note. Another side, someone says, my bank balance has gone to 18 lakh because we could not go for a movie, we couldn't eat out, we don't know what to do. Money is just coming in. COVID did not do that. We did this. I was talking with a domestic worker, work at home. The domestic worker says, I will work at my home, her house, I will pay her salary. No. No. I don't think we have paid salary. How many of us paid to our domestic workers when there was a lockdown? Many of us, many of so-called big people, they have not allowed the domestic worker to go to their house. I was talking to one of the domestic ladies. She said, earlier if I was late for 5 minutes, my landlord lady will call me. When are you coming? We are waiting. Your train is late. Your metro is late. Wow, wow, like that. Now I stand outside the house. Madam, can I come? No. No. Policies, programs. We are very good at that. In the name of COVID, we have not given them money. Even you should have given them 25,000 rupees to the 140 million migrants in their accounts. I know some money was put in the account. I know 500 rupees, so 1,000 rupees. Government has given 1,000 rupees. Bigger government has given 1,000 rupees for the migrants. We know that. If you had given them 25,000 rupees to the 140 million migrants or the 140 million migrant families, it would be only 3 lakh crores, 1/6 of the package announced. But then we would have created animal spirit in the villages. That's what the Keynes said earlier. John Keynes, you have to generate demand. If you give 500 rupees to the lady who said, I have not seen 200 rupee note, for her, that 500 rupees will immediately spend. Suppose you send me, Sahu sends me saying that, sir, you have spoke in our seminar, I am sending you 2,000 rupees in your account. That has no implication for me. For me, the 2,000 rupees you are giving to me will not generate demand. But the same 2,000 rupees goes to the man in the villages. That will create what we call them animal spirit. It creates demand. It creates demand. That's why when you go today outside and see that there are many things are available, but nobody is buying that. Orange, apple, all are lying there. Because you have to generate demand. And we could not do that. We could not do that. Hard cash. That money is important. Money is important. Food is important. We given them food. I don't know how many people got the food. What is there? We can study that. Food security, health security, what is called but hard cash we have not done. And finally, I think we are running, I'm going to close down now. This is the same thing with our international migrants. We have 20 million Indians working anywhere in the world, still holding Indian passport. 10 millions are only in the Gulf, in 6 countries. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, and UAE. 6 countries accommodate 10 million, and remaining 200 countries accommodate 10 million. So we are so much turning towards Gulf. And I said, when the COVID was hit, I said, out of the 20 lakhs people, 20 million Indians, 10 to 15% will come back during COVID-19. Already 15 lakhs have come through the Vande Bharat flights. Kerala, I said 5 lakhs will come. Already 5 lakhs have come. Of course, not all of them are migrants. There are dependents. Even the flight which had an accident in Kerala, 48% of them are dependents, because I got the name of all the passengers. That means the return migration story is not still complete. We have only seen the teaser for the movie. To get interest for the movie, what the producer does, they send 3-minute teaser. They release one song. They release another song. But the movie is not out. Movie will be 2 hours. So return migration story is not complete. It will continue until December. But none of us were talked about return migrants, even in the 20 lakh crores. Return migrants are, we assume they don't exist. Of course, we have no data on return migrants. How many returned, we don't know. Only Kerala has some data. Kerala had, even pre-COVID, we had 15 lakhs of return migrants. In the Kerala Assembly, there are 6 MLAs who are return migrants. In Kerala, there are 6 MLAs who are return migrants. I don't know how many MLAs in how many assemblies in this country, I don't know. How many of you know in your own state, how many MLAs are from return migrants? How many MPs are return migrants? Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. Please remember, Mahatma Gandhi is a return migrant. He came with a vision. We want what India should be after return from South Africa. Return migrants also have some vision, but we have to help them out. So return migrants came and they will continue to come. They are going to have, of course, we are talking about skill India. So we are going to send people, because I am putting the return migrants in 3 categories. One is normal return. If you go to Gulf, you have to come back. So normal return. Second is distress return. Lost jobs. At least 1/3 of the Indian, 1/3 of the Indian are lose jobs. And there are another group of people, return to remigrate. I think now people should do research on that, return to remigrate. New typology we should work. Because some of them will return, they will not stay in Kerala. They will not stay in Tamil Nadu. If I go to North Kerala, I ask somebody, where were you? He said, I am in the Gulf. Where were you in the Gulf? Sir, I was 2 years in Dubai, 3 years in Saudi Arabia, 1 year in Kuwait. He visited all the 6 countries. That means he lose job in Dubai, he goes to Saudi Arabia. Something happens in Saudi Arabia, he goes to Qatar. Let's say Kuwait war, he goes to some other country. So please remember, there will be people return to remigrate. Can you help them out? We should do with our policies. And finally, don't even imagine in your mind. COVID-19 is not going to stop migrant. Global crisis, no. We are fighting Third World War. Every country needs people. Already 10 lakhs people have died in this country, whole globally. India 1 lakh, another country 1.5 lakhs. US is already close to 2.2 lakhs plus, and they are predicting at least 3 lakhs people will die. And India has a demographic dividend. So please remember, COVID is going to accelerate migration. COVID is going to create a new migration corridor. Even you may not even imagine in your dreams. In your dreams, even you will not imagine. Oh, Indians are there. Big numbers. So the COVID-19 is going to give you a great opportunity for migration and migration research, migration scholars, migration data. Yeah, when I started working probably 25 years back on migration, I can count the number of scholars on migration. But today I can't count how many are working on migration. I can count earlier, now I cannot count because so many are working, so many universities, so many young people, you know. So the COVID is going to create a new migration trend. But remember, short run, migrant will suffer because of our policies. Long run, they will win. They are the winners. Migrants are winners. They take risk. Migrants take risk. The nurse from Kerala take risk to go to Kuwait. A poor laborer from somewhere part of 3,000 kilometers is traveling to Kerala. He take risk and they will continue to take risk. Whatever means, you can tell them stop. When the flight started moving from Kerala itself, 40 flights will leave every day during the normal period. So the migration is going to pick up and there will be more research, there will be more webinars, so migration is not going to stop. If the COVID, which I have not seen, I don't know how many of you have seen COVID, you might have seen people say this man died of COVID. This lady died of COVID. This house has a COVID. This area has a COVID. We all know. Not only that, now everybody is putting brightening. If you open your website, how many we tested today? How many caught COVID? How many died? We have very good data on COVID-19, but we don't have data on migration. If COVID can reach 200 plus countries successfully, with all our barriers, we stopped the flight. Every country stopped the flight. Still they are there. Second wave. So if the COVID can go everywhere, Indians, I will not say migrants, because migrant is Indian. The brand Indian, the India, what our Prime Minister tells about skill capital. If India is going to emerge as a skill capital, India will supply labor to all the 200 countries. If the COVID can go, the COVID can reach 200 countries and successfully managing there, successfully killing some people in every country as much as possible, including America, Indians can go. We are proud that Indians will be playing a major role in the future of the world migration. We are now #1 in remittances and migration, but number is very small, 80 billion. I am sure within 10 years, India will receive 160 billion. Why? If you send 10 unskilled workers, if he sends $200, you are getting $2,000. You get 10 skilled worker, he sent $2,000 back, you get 20,000. Please remember, 10 migrants sending 2,000 and 1 migrant from UK will send you 2,000. Canada, Australia. So you can imagine the world is for us. The world is for us. World is for migrants. Thank you very much.
What a profound analysis by Professor Rajan. It is, in fact, when you think of academic knowledge, policy and all, without empathy, they become very useless. And Professor Rajan, in all his talks, he brings this side of his personality where empathy precedes his scholarship. And sometimes you find he brings the migrant into the forefront, the human side of migrants, especially the marginal section of migrants. And thank you, sir, for bringing this very important issue. And at the end also you have brought, we should not be panic. We should be very positive, and this post-COVID-19 will be for us, for Indians and for the migration researcher. So there is a positive side we have shown us. And it's very nice to hear again and again bringing the migrant into the forefront. And there is a lot many things we have to learn from you. And if you agree, we can open for 2-3 questions so that people will have direct interaction with you. Maybe some 5 minutes. Sir, is it okay?
Yeah, because I have another meeting, so 5 minutes is fine.
Okay, so anybody want to ask any question? Usually valedictory we don't ask, but we have such a inspiring talk. If anybody want to ask any question, we can entertain one question maybe.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sir, at first there were some questions already that I noted. So
yeah, I can't read that. So many questions are there. There are so many comments.
Madhuri, can you read one question at least?
Sir, there was a question that asked, what should have been the right policy of the government?
Okay. See, we don't know. That's what I said. We were all panic. Everybody was panic. In fact, when Kerala was doing really well, I was talking with a migrant from Dubai. He said, I want to come to Kerala because I want to die in Kerala, not in Dubai. A panic. And he took the first flight, like a first day, first show movie. He took the first flight and came to Kerala. I talked to him now. Sir, I regret why I came. Because now Dubai is better. So, it's like, all the policies are some type of a panic. And the panic is that we took that what is called the immobility. as a weapon. Immobility. He said, you don't move, COVID will not move. But COVID did move. That's what COVID did move. We have seen in our own eyes. The flight was not coming, but then COVID came. I don't know where. That's why I said we have not seen the COVID. But we are fighting against that. That's why if we know the COVID is from this area, we would already bombed them. Even we know there's a country with COVID, we would have bombed the country already. That country will not be there, like a world war. But now we don't know where it is. People say this area, that house, that area, that locality, you don't go there, that market, where? We don't know. So I think that is the problem with the COVID. Because COVID-19 I treat as health crisis. If you manage the health crisis, I think there is a confusion between that. That's why when I talk to medical doctors, they tell, sir, what is this you are talking? Because the medical doctors will always say, if somebody has a fever, isolate them. You talk to the doctor, somebody has a fever, you isolate them. Don't go near to them because if you touch, you will get a fever. But then social scientists, we have a different view. So somewhere, we were panicked. So we were called what is called a trial error, something like that. I don't know. But we cannot blame anyone because now we are doing post-mortem report. We are not doing actual because somebody already died. We are just checking the body. Oh no, he didn't take poison. He was not killed. We know that there was no mark in him. Like that we are doing right now. I am doing that part because we don't know. March 24, I would not be able to talk. But now I am telling you, I was seen. We could not stop COVID. Anyway, that we know. That means our immobility, like what we did is the immobility. I think every country thought, the closing the border will close the COVID. I think we were wrong, in my view. May not be, I would have been doctor. Probably I would have said, Rajan, you are wrong. Probably I don't know. But in my view, because that has created the tension. That's why you saw the railway station, bus station, airport, queue, slums, people are running. I think that immobility is the problem. You should have said, we will handle the health crisis. Let the COVID come. That's what Kerala did. Kerala was the first one to receive COVID from China. We know that because Kerala migrants are there, students are there. We said, let them come. We never tell them don't come. Please come. And we treated them. We treated a old lady who came from Italy. So we would tell them, you come. We will take care. Somehow there is, I don't know. Now I am looking at it back, but we did it. Kerala had the first COVID from China, and nothing happened to the students, even the old people. In fact, there was a man called me from UK. Sir, the nurses who had treated the old Italian couples who came from Italy, can we get that lady to UK? We can pay her 10 times salary more than what she's getting in Kerala. So there is going to be a demand for health workers. My God, I don't know. I cannot even imagine what will be the future demand of health worker in the whole world. And who can support? India can do. You want a plumber? You have plumber. You want a welder? You have welder. That's why I said, I still go with the Prime Minister's statement. India can still as a skill capital, and we have Ministry of Skills, we have Skilled India, but we have to match them. This matching, it's like a matchmaking, like a Kerala matrimony or Malayali matrimony. What's this? It's a matching thing. I think we have to do that correct matching. If somebody wants plumber, we have to give them best training. Indian plumber means there should be a seal. Oh, that Indian plumber, Indian welder, Indian nurse. I think that we should create. Once we are able to create as a skill capital, I think we have done our job. We have done our job. I think we will do. I'm sure we will do. Because India cannot provide employment for the growing youth. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. That's why I was telling the government of India one meeting, we were talking about facilitating legal, safe, and orderly migration. I said we should change that. Promoting safe, orderly, and legal migration. You promote. What is wrong? If you have a good plumber and you cannot employ all the good plumber which you created in this country as a skill, send some of them. You tell them. India can have employment exchange. Indian government say that we have 500,000 plumber will be ready in 2024. Which country want? This is the salary. Then your remittances will be 160 billion. Now they are telling World Bank says 23% will decline. I am not sure it will decline. It will only 10% will decline. So we will be not only a skill capital, we will be receiving remittances. We will do sustainable development goals. You look at sustainable, all goals can be fulfilled earlier if you allow migrants to flourish. We will stop here, Sahu.
Thank you, sir, for this. We have many takeaways from your profound speech, and there is a lots of positivity at the end you brought, though there is empathy for the entire migrant community. So now I thank Professor Rajan for again, for bringing out so many issues and so many, policy measures which actually made at the end of the valedictory session we could comprehend many things into tangible policy measures, because he has given the perspective how to plan for future, and there is a many things to work on, and as a researcher you got more responsibility now. Be positive, and thank you, sir, and thank you all for giving me this opportunity to chair this session. Over to you, Madhuri.
Thank you, sir. Unfortunately, due to lack of time, we couldn't ask all the questions. So now it's time to have vote of thanks. I now invite Dr. Divya Balan to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Madhuri. Good evening, everyone. I don't want to take so much of time, but then this is a very important formality that we have to do, because this seminar, this 3-day webinar won't be possible without the help of a lot of people, and I think it's very important to mention the names and extend our sincere gratitude to all the people who have directly and indirectly involved in making this program, this event a success. So I'm sure, maybe some of us or maybe all of us might be having this feeling that all good things come to an end, and we are at the point of winding up this 3-day international seminar on migrants and displaced persons amid COVID-19. This event is being organized by Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala, in collaboration with Flame University, Pune, and Global Research Forum on Diaspora and Transnationalism, New Delhi. In the last 3 days, we have listened to our distinguished speakers. We had keynote addresses, we have special addresses, and many paper presentations covering themes related to internal migration, international migration, and governance, as well as on issues related to forced migration and refugees. I'm certain that our time is well spent, and the takeaway from this webinar will help us in our future research and actions. And throughout these 3 days, I was actually thinking, most of my, just as Professor Rajan has mentioned, almost half of or more than half of my lifetime, I myself was a migrant. I'm still a migrant in Pune. So, the insight, and when we place ourselves in this situation, I think we will be having, a more empathetic view of what migration is, or what migrants' experiences are. On this note, on the behalf of the coordinating committee, let me take this opportunity to thank all those who have made this 3-day international webinar a great success. I extend my sincere gratitude to Professor Dr. Sabu Thomas, Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala, for his wholehearted support in facilitating the entire event. Let me also thank the distinguished faculty members of the School of International Relations and Politics, Dr. K.M. Sethi, Director of Inter-University Center, Dr. A.M. Thomas, and our student coordinators, Winnie Davis, Syriac S, Atita Sunil, Ashika Krishna, Madhuri, Parvati Devi, Harisa, and our rapporteurs, Adarsh Cyril, Rahul M.R., Malavika Shivan, Arjun S., Teresa Johnson, Safna Mol, Anuraj, Deri Paul, Vrinda, Shalini, Dinoop, and these students are from Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala. I should really say this, their unmatchable support and incredible coordination are the key to the success of this webinar. I also would like to extend my sincere gratefulness to Dr. Dishan Kamdar, the Vice Chancellor of Flame University, Pune, Dr. Virendra Sharma, Registrar, Dr. Santosh Kurtarkar, Dean of School of Liberal Education, Dr. Poonam Gandhi, Chair of Sociology, Dr. Aparna Shankar, Head of the Department of Social Sciences, Ms. Yachna Vora and Ms. Rishikesh Bokil for the publicity efforts from the side of Flame University. Special thanks go to the whole team of GRFDT New Delhi for their wholehearted support and collaboration. Thank you very much, Dr. Sahu, whom I call very fondly Sahu sir. He's like a mentor to me. So thank you very much, Sahu sir, and also Dr. Rakesh Ranjan, especially for chairing our special address and academic session, as well as taking care of the technical side of this webinar, as well as Abhishek Yadav, Dr. Firoz Khan, Dr. Monica Bisht, and all the members of GRFDT. Like we are a big body, I would say research organization. So it's impossible to kind of tell, spell out all the names here because of the paucity of time. But for the frequent inputs, technical assistance to ensure the better execution of this event, and for having a seamless virtual experience during all the sessions, I should really thank Team GRFDT. We truly appreciate the huge role of our GRFDT interns as well. Moshina Nureen, Snehal Mutta, Unni Krishnan Venugopal, Tejaswini Jog, Ujjwala Lekhanpal, Pooja Priya, Anushri Nair, Manjima, Anjana, and Oluvasai Olavui, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, for skillfully rapporteuring the entire event. Now it's time to express our sincere and heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers, Professor Iriderajan sir, Dr. Chinmay Tumbe, Mr. Shabri Nair, Dr. Parivelan KM, Ms. Padi Sianga Knudsen, Dr. M.V. Vijilal, all our speakers, and again, this is something which I would say the greatest about this 3-day international webinar. All our speakers have been very generous with their time and contribution. Their conversation have provided much needed help to all of us, especially the students and research scholars, I would say, to contextualize the issues related to migration, refugees, and governance. We are grateful for the efforts our speakers took to share their thoughts and experiences with us. Special thanks goes to our session chairs, who have played such key role in supporting the well execution of these 3-day event and moderating the session skillfully. Let me thank Dr. Shivakumar Jalad, who has chaired in the first day, Dr. Matthew Varghese of MG University, Dr. Shahina Mol AK of KHM Unity Women's College, Kerala. I should also sincerely express our thanks to all the paper presenters and participants. We are grateful to you for your active engagement and contributions to this academic event. I'm sure looking at our chat itself, like 3 days of the chat box itself is kind of like like a research paper we can convert into if we answer all the questions that have come in the chat box. I'm sure we can write a research paper on those issues. We also acknowledge the crucial contributions of each and everyone, as I mentioned, directly and indirectly involved with this webinar. Last but not least, this is a personal, I would say, gratitude from my side, me personally. I'm stressing that I really want to place it on record that it was a pleasure working and collaborating with Dr. Lirad P, chairperson of the Center of Indian Diaspora Studies and assistant professor at the MG University, Dr. Smita Tiwari, secretary of GRFDT New Delhi. I extend my sincere gratitude to them for making the backside task for this webinar so much fun. These 3 days, I think this is what is the happiest moment of my life in this 2020, COVID infected 2020. So I'm really thankful for each and every one of you. I wish you a very good night and thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Divya, for, you are always missing yourself. So I think I should thank Divya, Dr. Lirar and Smita once again, because you three together like Trinity, you brought everything seamlessly and so nice coordination. I think we all enjoyed, your company.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
I look forward that you should do more and more work like this in the future.
We would be happy to. Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you so much, participants who are listening. Have a great night. We'll soon maybe, as I mentioned in one of the sessions, we'll continue this conversation for sure. Thank you so much.